I love when bootlegs and knockoffs combine different franchises, and like I said in the Korean Ninja Turtles model kit video, Korea has some of the strangest Ninja Turtles stuff I've seen, and really, this is the most bizarre set I've featured on the show yet. Really, this one is gonna be hard to top, so get ready for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Electric Robocop. This thing is huge! This is the first bootleg or knockoff that I haven't actually been able to fit vertically on the little orange backdrop I use for bootleg zones. So yes, this wondrous abomination comes to us from Korea, and I doubt there is much distribution on these things outside the country. However, this thing came to me from the Netherlands, so I guess they might have at least made it over there. Oh, what do you know? I guess Robocop 3 was quite a bit different than Robocop 2. So you want to know what this actually says in Korean? Okay, get this. Apparently it's Electric Robocop 3. I guess these Robocop knockoffs always attach a 2 or 3 to them, since we all know the popular opinion is the sequels were the superior films. What does seem particularly weird to me about the Korean on this thing's box is it doesn't seem to mention the Ninja Turtles by name anywhere. And the blurb here basically comes out to talking about new crime in Detroit and Robocop's handgun being a Spitfire. Or maybe it spits fire, or he'll fire it, something like that. So Ninja Turtles vs. Electric Robocop was made by the Taeyang Plastic Model Company. I can find nothing else made by these guys and can find no proof they ever existed. Hell, I can't even find proof that this thing in front of me exists. Though I'm pretty sure it does. And I know Robocop's always had some pouty lips, but I think he's gone into pouty overdrive on this box. And I love how this thing has giant pouty Robocop and then just 3 of the Ninja Turtles in little boxes to the right. This is again some Ninja Turtles artwork I don't really recognize, and this time I don't think it's from something else, and it's interesting how all the weapons are brown like the toys. Oh, and Donatello's missing one of his eyes! In fact, apparently there's nothing in his head at all back there. Oh no, one old blue-eyed Donatello! It's likely the color these guys were on before they were put in front of the little blue gradient was white, and it was a little too close to the color on Donatello's eye there. So instead of just cutting him out so they could put him in front of that, they got rid of one of his eyes, and due to the awesome quality control on this, they didn't notice or didn't care. Now, you might be wondering, where's Michelangelo? And if you're not wondering that, well, you should be. Well, the answer to this is actually on the side of the box as we get the pictures of the turtles again, and... oh. Yes, instead of Michelangelo artwork, we just get a crappy cutout of wacky action Michelangelo. This is part of the reason I don't think these pictures of the turtles were actually from anything official. I think they just forgot to draw Michelangelo and said, well, don't worry, we found a perfect substitute. And apparently even Taeyang Plastic Model Co. thought that's too shitty for the front of the box. And that's not the only strange connection to the Wacky Action Turtles figures, as they list them as such on the side of the box as well. We got Break Fightin' Raphael, Rock and Roll Michelangelo, Sewer Swimming Donatello, and Wacky Walkin' Mauser. Yeah, screw you, Leonardo. I always knew there was something off about you, Leonardo. Mauser in disguise. Let go of my arm, Leo. Also, I suppose it's worth a mention they didn't screw up Donatello's eye on the side, but don't worry, they made up for it. Whoever designed the box for this thing must have just had a set of the wacky action turtles around, and they thought, well, we can put that text on, and they probably didn't even understand what it said in English. Because I really didn't know that Donatello was a rat trap with an appetite for turtles, you cannibal! I thought Leo was the Mauser, but actually if you read the descriptions under the names, they have them all listed correctly, and then there's just nothing for Leonardo. And one last bit before we actually get into this thing is Electric Robocop is Cyboug Machine Man Super Robocop. So, a descriptive word for Robocop is Robocop, who, by the way, is a cyborg. And isn't it kind of redundant to say that a cyborg is a machine man? Oh wait, no, I don't actually know what a cyborg is. Alright, first look, and I guess we can see now why Cyboug Machine Man Robocop was that much bigger than the turtles on the box. I'm particularly glad that the box has the name for the turtles listed on the inside because, you know, I might have a slight problem telling which one is which. So, I don't even know where to begin. This set is just ridiculous. I love it. Just, what is any of this? What am I even doing? Well, I suppose we can start with good old Cyboug Machine Man Super Robocop. He might look slightly different than you remember. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed we don't get Mr. Super Pouty Lips at all on this yellow whatever. Cyboug, sure. The best guess I can come up with, this is like Robocop meets Sentai. Well, actually, that is sort of what they ripped this off is like. This figure is a bootleg of Bandai's figure for the Mobile Cop Jiban. Much better than that of Mobile Cop, he didn't get much done. So get this, Jiban was a detective killed in the line of duty and brought back as a cyborg with certain directives about upholding the law. Jeez, I don't see where they got the Robocop connection from something like that. But seriously, I do rather enjoy the circle going on here of Robocop inspiring Jiban than Jiban's toy being bootlegged as Robocop. Now, even though this guy looks nothing like Robocop, as you might have noticed, he's a pretty decent figure with a lot of articulation, and even finger articulation. And his shoulder pads can go up for some reason, his gauntlets can come off. Also, he can go from visor down mode to visor up, so he can get a nice breath of fresh air through that mouth of his. Now, of course, you're probably wondering where the electric part of Electric Robocop Super Cyboug Machine Man or whatever comes from. You can actually put 2 double A's in this guy, sort of. Now, it was a bitch of a time getting the batteries even in this guy to this point, and you might notice that this one isn't really flush in there. Well, that's the best I can do. This flap part here made it almost impossible to get either battery in, and then once you actually do, the metal connectors for the batteries almost had no give, so yeah, this is probably the best you can ever do. Also, I'm pretty glad that the Electric Cyboug advertises Tae Yang on his butt. Also, you get the pleasure of trying to stick your finger up his butt to activate him. So what does Electric Robocop Cyboug Machine Man Super Robocop do? That. Now, I'm not 100% sure that's all he's supposed to do, since it's quite impossible to get both batteries flush inside him, but if you hold the button, and yes, you have to hold it, he will be blinky angry at you. You're creep. And now the turtles! if you want to call these things that. Don't forget, it's Raphael, Donatello, Leonardo, and Michelangelo. Gee, I have no idea why I felt the need to remind you who was who. By the way, I've tricked these 4 guys into standing by sticking them in a kind of groove in the table. If you stick them on an actual flat surface, yeah, no, they aren't gonna do it. These 4 guys all use the Michelangelo mold, and what else? Oh yeah, their color scheme is slightly off. I love it. I mean, what about these colors made sense? A yellow head, blue shell, and red arms. Or alternatively, yellow arms, blue shell, and at least has a green head, but instead it's a yellow headband. Now there are a few changes on these guys from the Michelangelo mold. First off being they have 2 flat feet, which you would think would help them stand easier, but as I've mentioned quite a few times on this show, the original Turtles had ball joint legs, which gave them quite a good range of motion. However, for these 4 guys, here's their leg articulation. I really just don't understand this one. Sideways. Why do you ever need the legs to move just sideways? And I wish they could just go in a little bit further, as it would help them actually stand on their 2 flat feet, but no, they always default to having one crooked, so yeah. These guys are also missing wrist articulation, which really is one of the most common points of articulation to be lost on these bootlegs and knockoffs. Now here's where things get strange. I mean, as far as articulation goes, everything about these things have been strange. It looks like whatever these guys have been molded off of added an extra joint at the ankle, which would help a lot with making them stand, but of course on these guys it's been molded solid. The answer to what's going on with that, again, is another weird connection to the wacky action line. Particularly sewer swimming Donatello, as he has feet that can move at this point to help with his swimming gimmick. This also explains the particularly bad seam line down the legs on these guys, as that's where the parts have been put together on sewer swimming Donatello. This might also explain the strange leg articulation, as this Donatello doesn't have the normal leg articulation, but because his legs are kind of loose, they can kind of swivel in and out like these guys. So apparently they only had these 2 figures to work off of and only used the legs of sewer swimming Donatello, which I don't get. I mean, why not change up the heads on some of these guys too? Okay, maybe that's why they didn't use his head. I mean, clearly these guys had standards. And for more proof they only had the regular Michelangelo and Wacky Action Donatello to work off, here's the accessories. The only weapons and accessories you get with these 4 guys are weapons that would come with Wacky Action Donatello and the regular Michelangelo. You get 2 darker blue spears that come with Wacky Action Donatello, 2 red Donatello belts, 2 yellow Michelangelo belts, 2 black trowels or fist daggers. And I guess Michelangelo's nunchucks were special since you get a set of red nunchucks and a set of green ones. He's gonna kick your ass, Christmas style! Or something like that, I don't know. That's also not quite it for the Wacky Action Donatello accessories you get. This is probably the most nonsensical accessory for these guys to come with, as this is Wacky Action Don's sewer scuba jet. You know, only actually used for that swimming gimmick this figure did. Don't think these guys can quite manage that gimmick. Hell, they can't even hold both ends of this thing. I like too how you can tell that the nunchucks were all molded off the same one, as they have the same notch where the real one was cut out of the weapons tree. But legitly, besides the strange color, I do actually really like the weapons that come with these guys, as they are actually more flexible than the official thing. Even the fist dagger is extremely flexible for some reason. Not the spear though! That would have been silly. So once you got these guys all suited up, they can look really weird. But hey, they're colorful. So to try and tell these guys apart, I put the one that they labeled as Michelangelo in a Michelangelo belt, and the one labeled Leonardo in a Michelangelo belt. And the one labeled Donatello in a Donatello belt, and the one labeled Raphael in a Donatello belt. So we got Raphael. Look, there's just absolutely nothing Raphael about this guy. We need to fix this. There, perfect. Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello. Donatello! That's more like it, apparently. And Leonardo, 'cause, well, he's got blue on his shell. And Robert Cop! I mean, Cyboug Machine Man Super Robocop. Of course. Electric Robocop actually comes with a little instruction book for him, which doesn't mention the turtles whatsoever. It kind of makes me wonder if the turtles were an afterthought to this set. It's also interesting that instead of actually showing their yellow Jiban Cyboug Robocop bootleg in the book, they instead just show the official Bandai figure. And unlike the Turtles accessories, Cyboug Cop's weapons still come on a weapons tree. Woo! But those aren't the cool accessory that comes with Super Robocop. This is. Oh, and if this gun wasn't big enough, there you go! There is, though, one unfortunate thing about this amazing accessory: getting Cyboug to hold it. It's not impossible, but what can make it tricky is actually the finger articulation, particularly on his left hand, as it's really loose. Super Cyboug! So the instruction book shows us a lot of the accessories and tells us how to do a few things, like plop the batteries in. It's easy! You have no idea how long that actually took me. And apparently you can form stuff like an arm drill or arm claw with the weapons tree. Or a gun! Yeah, do I seriously need a different gun than that? And seriously, look at this dinky little gun that comes on the tree. Which gun is more impressive? It is so hard to decide. Do you get the feeling the old Cyboug might be trying to compensate for something? And remember when Robocop went Super Cyboug and pulled out his giant-ass gun and sword? I wish I remembered that. And once you have them finished, you can remove old Cyboug's gauntlets and put on his drill and claw. Pretty freaking sweet! The instruction slip also shows all the accessories having decals on them, which are actually missing from this set. But the official version is missing something from here. Oh yeah, that's right. No pathetic little mini pistol for you, Jiban. Cyboug wins. Oh yeah, and if the gun wasn't cool enough, it's a missile launcher. You betrayed the law, Cyboug. Whoa. So if you couldn't tell by it bouncing around like that, yeah, this thing is fairly powerful. Bounced right back to me. So before, when I said the turtles only use Wacky Donatello's legs, I wasn't quite right. And this is a bit of an inane detail, but I noticed it, so I'm going to tell you about it. If you really pay attention to the veins and stuff on Wacky Donatello's arm, you can see that 3 of the 4 turtles use his right arm. However, Michelangelo actually uses Michelangelo's right arm. Michelangelo also uses the real Michelangelo's left arm, along with Donatello and Leonardo. But Raphael uses Wacky Action Donatello's left arm. Yeah, I know. Why did I notice that, and why did I bother telling you? Well, the answer is, Actually, the reason it is at all notable to me is that they bothered to mold both these guys' arms. I don't really understand why they bothered. I mean, I had to really be stupid and paying attention to little details to notice that. And again, it makes you wonder even more why they couldn't have bothered to mold the other guy's head at least so they're not all just Michelangelo. And Kirby! Hey guys, I just thought of a brilliant way to make it look more like Leo and Raph are on this team. Ta-da! Am I good or what? Oh, screw you guys. Well, at least Mike and Ardo can hold his swords. Or I suppose he can steal Cyboug's giant-ass sword. And once you're ready, you can finally have that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles vs. Robocop battle that you've all been waiting for. Well, we get quite the varying quality in this set. I wish the same amount of care that was given to Robocop was applied to the Turtles. Cyboug Super Robocop is a really nice figure for the most part. He's extremely articulate and has some really neat accessories, especially his motherboard and Super Cyboug gun. The only problem is the finger articulation is a bit loose and can unfortunately make it kind of annoying to get him to hold his Super Cyboug gun, or anything really, except that stupid little pistol. Also, his motherboard and Super Cyboug gun is so big, his arm can get in the way of making him hold it straight. Now, his electric Robocop gimmick sure does exist. Again, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be the extent of it, but screw those battery slots. Screw them to Cyboug hell! Now, the Turtles are a lot sloppier with some pretty bad plastic scenes with plastic bits sticking out of a lot of them. Only 2 different color schemes were used for the 4 turtles, and the legs only having horizontal articulation makes them annoying to stand. Especially when this always leaves 1 foot crooked from the ground. They've also only got accessories and molded parts from 2 random turtles, being regular Mikey and Wacky Don. The fact they only used Mikey's head and only had his correct headband color makes me wonder if the Wacky Don they used had his head broken off. The accessories are really nice though, and I actually like the more flexible plastic for a lot of them. But overall, I'd say the quality pros outweigh the cons, so I'll go with 7. Well, the Turtles are a mismatch of remolded parts and Cyboug Robocop. I mean, if you really want to call this Robocop, is a yellow version of Jiban, with less light colors apparently. Also, it's quite possible that maybe Jiban does more than blinky red anger. It does look like he has an actual switch to flip on his butt, but I do really enjoy the idea of him being a Sentai Robocop and taking something inspired by Robocop and turning it back into him by yellowing him is strangely creative. Also, that color scheme for the Turtles, just what the what? 7. Robocop versus the Turtles. Yeah, kinda strange there. Wouldn't have thought I'd ever see that. Or yellow Cyboug Super Robocop and super colored Turtles. The weird and random is just all over this set, and I love it. 10. This box is huge and certainly makes an amazing display. I love the puckered Robocop, the only 3 turtles on the front because they forgot the Mikey artwork, and them only listing 3 of the turtles on the side as Leo gets turned into Wacky Walkin' Mauser. And this is just because they only used the list of the first wave of Wacky action figures, which makes me think they only had a card of Wacky Don to work off of. But I guess someone at least knew Leonardo existed. Which, yeah, I am also very grateful that it told me which Turtles was which, because, yeah, I might have a little trouble with that otherwise. 10. Sure, if you can actually find this, replace it all up, but the majority of you better just stick to Robocop versus the Turtles. But seriously, as Robocop, yeah, I don't really see this guy being a replacement, but as a yellow Jiban, he could probably work. If you don't mind him being yellow instead, but you might, and you might mind your turtles looking like that. And the turtles, while not being made of the worst material, are kinda sloppy. 5. And the bootleg zones overall is 10. I love this set. Despite the turtles not being the best quality, their bizarre colors more than makes up for it. I love the Sentai Robocop and his neat accessories, and I don't know what my life was before seeing TMNT versus Cyboug Robocop. It's ridiculous and amazing.
Bop and Rocksteady, I've had enough of your crap. You two are so fired. But boss, without us, who are you possibly going to have take on the new multicolored titles? Well, I didn't see that one coming. We'll see ourselves out. Not so fast, you two idiots. Behold his ultimate power. What? I don't know. Cowabunga! Are we seriously seeing horribly miscolored versions of ourselves fighting some kind of Sentai Robocop thing? Dude, I knew we shouldn't have eaten that Korean pizza last night. I don't know, guys. I kind of like it. It's wacky. Not that kind of wacky.
Hi guys, check out my Patreon for early mid-roll free episodes, meaning no ads will play in the middle, and other perks.